Hi, my name is Steve Sokol, and I'd like to welcome you to our Advanced Abdominals Training video. Now, I don't mean to sound vain, but regardless of how advanced you are, I'll bet you I've done more abdominal exercise than you have. The reason I say that is I hold world records in sit-ups. I did 52,000 of those. Leg lifts, I did 13,000 of those. And I just recently set a record for 1 hour of abdominal crunches, doing over 5,400 abdominal crunches in an hour. Now, the reason I'm telling you all that is, A, to get your respect, B, so that you'll think I'm a little bit crazy, just a little bit, but most importantly, so that you know that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to abs. I did too many of them. Don't repeat my mistakes. I wore my back out. Don't repeat my mistakes. I spent way too much time doing abdominal exercise. Don't repeat my mistakes. Let's learn together how to do abdominals properly and work hard at them, but also work smart. First of all, let's review the abdominal musculature and their actions. In the front of your abdomen, we have the rectus abdominis that connects from the sternum all the way down to the pubic bone, and in a lean individual, this is known as the six-pack muscle. Its action is spinal flexion, shortening the distance between the sternum and the pubic bone. We also now have the oblique muscles. We have internal and external oblique that run like fingers from the back side of the body to the front side of the body. We have them on the right side as well as the left side. Their action is literally turning the body toward its side and also spinal rotation. So that would be lateral flexion and spinal rotation. Muscles that you can't see would include the transverse abdominis. Now this helps us hold our organs tight within the abdominal cavity and also supports good posture. This supports the pelvic floor and is engaged when you pull your navel toward the back side of your body. And any discussion of the abdominal muscles would not be complete unless we also mention the erector spinae, the muscles on the back side of your body. Because in order to have a strong midsection, you've got to strengthen the front, the sides, as well as the back. And that gives us our internal corset, our girdle of armor, our suit of armor, if you will. And that's what's going to keep us strong, protect us from injury, and also generate power from the legs and transmit it through this strong core up to the upper regions of our body. And that's going to be important for any sporting functions that you decide you want to perform. There are certain myths and truths revolving around the abdominal region. Now, many people think you can do lots and lots of sit-ups and abdominal exercise and crunches and leg lifts and literally whittle away that fat around your midsection. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, when I was training to do my 52,000 consecutive sit-ups, in the 15 weeks prior to that time, I did over 500,000 sit-ups. And now people come up to me and they say, "Man, you must have been so lean and so cut back then." In fact, the opposite was true. I was never fatter in my whole life because I was doing so much abdominal exercise that the muscles within my abdominal cavity were bowing out, and I looked like I swallowed a watermelon. Also, abdominal exercise do not burn much fat. And therefore, unless I modify other aspects of my program that we'll talk about a little bit later, you will not burn fat. You will build muscle, and that is the truth revolving around abdominal exercise. If you overdo abdominal exercise or do incorrect abdominal exercise, especially if you're beginning to incorporate resistance for your obliques, your love handles, or even for the rectus abdominis, those muscles will get stronger. As muscles get stronger, they hypertrophy, they get larger. So, you don't want to do too many. In fact, in many cases, fewer is better. Trick question. Are abdominal exercises good for your back? Don't answer too fast, because now I'm going to ask you a second question. Are abdominal exercises bad for your back? Well, guess what? The answer is both. If you're doing the wrong abdominal exercises, you can actually be hurting your back. And I have degenerating discs in my lower back right now because I did some incorrect exercises, and I also did them to excess many years ago. Now I do my exercises properly, but Aaron is going to come out here right now, and he is going to help us to demonstrate some of the exercises that we do not want to do anymore. The first exercise is the one that I originally set my world record in, which was doing 52,000 consecutive sit-ups. So, Aaron, let's go ahead and show them what a full sit-up looks like. He's coming all the way up and going all the way back down. Now, as he comes up, notice I'm holding his feet, and when I let go of his feet, boom, he pops back down because his hip flexors were engaged. Now, when your hip flexors are engaged, they pull from the front of your hip to your lumbar spine, and they're actually yanking your lower back this way, which is not a good action for the lower back. The other thing is full sit-ups go through excessive flexion of the back. Let's show what that means. See how rounded his back is? Now I'm going to show what's going on the inside now by way of this spine right over here, my trusty spine. As he curls all the way up, see this excessive C-shaped curve? When you look at the front edge of each disc that is between each of these vertebrae, the disc is compressed, and the open back part of the disc is actually broader than it normally would be. What's happening is we're squeezing the nuclear material that's in the middle of each of these discs backward as we compress and squeeze that front edge. So we're ripping that back edge of the disc apart, and we're also pushing the nucleus backward, which can lead to disc bulges and, in worst-case scenarios, disc herniations. Not what you want, and it is what I ended up with. Fortunately, there are ways to treat it conservatively. Your body is forgiving, so just don't continue to do these improper exercises. The second exercise that we don't want you to do, ironically enough, are leg lifts. Yes, I hold the world record in these also at over 13,000. Aaron's legs are going to come from just above the floor up to a perpendicular position, so he's going to lift his legs up. Pause right here and come on back down. Now, people do this exercise as a way to work lower abdominals. Now, in reality, there is no low abdominal muscle. It's the lower part of the rectus abdominis, but this is not working that either. This exercise is a hip flexor exercise. Let's come up again. He's actually lifting with his legs. The only thing the abdominal region is doing here is holding an isometric contraction. So I'm going to show you later on better exercises to work that lower portion of the rectus abdominis. So let's go up now and show a couple other exercises that we're not going to want to do anymore. Aaron, if you go ahead and put that across your shoulders. And he's now going to pivot side to side as I get my head out of the way. Go ahead and let's sweep back and forth. Now, many people, again, do this for the midsection, but let's take a look internally what's going on here. As we swivel back and forth, we're actually ripping these disc surfaces apart. Golfers, baseball players, tennis players always end up with back injuries. Why? Because of the shearing forces created by this twist. That's why you do not want to put that broomstick or heavy bar on your shoulders and swivel side to side. One last exercise that we're not going to want to do anymore are side bends with a weight. Okay? And Aaron, let's go ahead and demonstrate what that side bend would look like as you dip that shoulder down. So what he's trying to do here is work the oblique on the opposite side, again, in the misguided attempt to spot reduce or wear away fat on this oblique. Okay, number one, there is no such thing as spot reducing. He's not getting rid of the fat. Number two, he is actually building muscle over here, an area that most of us don't want to have additional musculature. And number three, and most devastating of all, as he comes off to the side, you'll see he's actually impinging or squeezing down on the disc, which will then squeeze on these little yellow guys, which are spinal nerves. You do not want to pinch spinal nerves. You can get sciatic pain going down your legs or weakness in your legs. So this is another exercise that I want you to throw out of your repertoire. We'll show you good ones a little bit later. So now we know that getting rid of body fat and getting lean has almost nothing to do with abdominal exercise. So what does it have to do with? Two words: input and expenditure. Input is what you put into your mouth. Remember, a moment on the lips, forever on the hips. What we need to do first in order to get lean and to drop 1 or 2 pounds of body fat per week, which is all I want you to shoot for and is really all you're capable of achieving, is do the following. Eat more vegetables. Eat more salads. Eat more whole fruits. Eat more lean protein foods such as fish, chicken, turkey breast, egg whites, non-fat dairy products. Cut back on excess sugars, starches. Too much fat in your diet is going to make you fat. Too much sugar, too much starch. The other foods, the fruits and vegetables and lean protein, are going to allow you to consume fewer calories but get a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to your nutrition. The next thing I want you to do is drink a whole lot more water. I want you to cut back on fruit juices and cut back on sodas, sources of really empty calories. And then you need to do your cardio. That's part of the expenditure equation. What is cardiovascular exercise? It's anything that utilizes bigger muscle groups, such as walking, jogging, running, bicycle riding, swimming, deep water running in a pool, wearing a flotation device, cross-country skiing, working on indoor machines, playing soccer with your kids, playing basketball. There is no excuse not to do aerobic exercise. There is one that you're going to love. Find the one that you love and do it. Now, how often should you do it? Almost every day. 6, 7 days a week. That doesn't mean you have to work hard and sweat like crazy every day. And in fact, sweating has almost nothing to do with burning body fat. Sweating is simply losing water as a means of staying cool within your body. But you do need to be consistent. So most days of the week, a minimum of 30 minutes. I'd like you to try to work at a relatively intense pace so that your breathing is up, your heart rate is elevated. You could be in what is called your target heart rate zone. To find that zone, take the number 220, subtract your age from it. So if you're 40 years old, you subtract 40 from 220, you get 180. That is your maximum heart rate. Now try to be exercising between about 65% and about 80% of that figure. So about 2/3 up to 80%. So again, for that 40-year-old individual, 180 is the maximum. About 70%, 65% is going to be a heart rate of about 120. On the high end, maybe about 150, 160. And that's the heart rate you want to be at. The talk test is the easiest way, though. If you're huffing and puffing and panting and you can't breathe and you got a side stitch, you're working too hard. Conversely, if you can sing the Star Spangled Banner without taking a deep breath, you need to work a little bit harder. 30 minutes most days of the week, cardiovascular exercise of your choice is going to help you make inroads into burning that body fat. The next part of the equation is strength training, which we'll talk about next. There are very few ways to raise your metabolic rate. Some involve using caffeine and other products that raise your heart rate and raise your blood pressure to unhealthy levels. I don't want you to do any of that. What I want you to do is raise your metabolic rate naturally by adding muscle to your body. And that's why a full-body strength training program is so important. Now, I don't think you have to join a gym either. It can be very simple if you've got some weights at home. And if you don't have weights, you can still do a good resistance program. So what we're going to do now is show you some good compound movements to work your entire body in just a few exercises. And you'll see what we mean by that. A compound movement doesn't just isolate one part of the arm versus the back side of the arm, but works the entire arm, the entire leg, large masses of muscle at one time. Aaron's going to come out here now and show us how to do the king of all strength training exercises, the squat. Now, he's going to hold the weights up to his shoulders. He's going to have his feet about shoulder width apart, and he's going to come down, and I'm going to ask him to pause at the bottom of his movement so we could see what his back looks like. And you can see there's a nice hollow curve here, and he's got his legs back. He's sitting more or less in a chair. You do not have to drop down below that 90-degree mark. Okay, let's come up nice and slow and do a few repetitions just like that. Now, right here, he is working the quadriceps, the big muscle on either side of his thigh, the inner and outer thigh. Come on up. I know it's tough to stay down there. His calves and also his glutes. Now, you can use water jugs for this, or maybe you're not quite strong enough to use free weights yet, so you can just use your own body. As you squat down, pause at the bottom, come out nice and slow. Now, you don't want to go too deep, which is hard on the knee, and you also don't want to come up to a solid, locked-out knee, because, again, that can be hard on your joints as well. So just stay in that mid-range, coming up and down and up, down and back up. Now, another great compound movement for the lower body is the lunge. And again, Aaron is going to show us what a lunge looks like. He's going to take a big step out, make sure that his knee does not come out ahead of his toe. He's going to drop his upper body down, drop his hips down, and drive back up. And then he's going to do that with the opposite leg as well. Now again, he is working his quadriceps, his hamstrings, his calves, and his glutes, all in the same movement, making it incredibly efficient. And that's what we're looking for, efficiency in these strength training movements. And I think those two moves alone are enough to work your entire lower body. So now what we're going to do is move on to the upper body. So we'll have Aaron lay down on the bench with his head right up here. And the next exercise he's going to perform is the bench press. So he's got his hands out, and he's going to lift up and squeeze the dumbbells together. So right here, he's working his chest. Go ahead and do a few repetitions, Aaron. He's working his chest, the front of his shoulders, and his triceps, all simultaneously. You can do this same movement with a barbell if you're in a gym, or with weight machines if you had access to those. But I like free weights best because they incorporate balance and work more muscle. Now, an alternative to the bench press, if you don't have weights and you don't have any equipment, is simply doing push-ups. So I'm keeping my body straight, I go drop down, I come back up, and I again work my triceps, my shoulders, and my chest. I'm also working my abdominal muscles as well while I'm holding my body straight. Now, if you're not quite strong enough to do push-ups like this, you can bend your knees and do push-ups from your knees. Or if you're extremely strong, you can put one foot up on top of the other and come down and do a variation this way where you're in a three-point stance and you actually get more stress, more work on the upper portion of your body. The next set of muscles that we want to work are the muscles of the back, and I'm going to demonstrate that I'm going to grab my dumbbell and do what is called a one-arm row. And you'll be able to watch the muscles of my lats, my latissimus dorsi right up here as I draw the weight up. Now, I'm not only working my back, but I'm also working my forearm muscles as well as my bicep muscles. I'm moving nice and slow. On each of these strength training movements, I blow the air out as I lift. I inhale on the way down. And I take between 1 and 2 seconds to lift, and I move nice and slow on the way down as well. And that, again, is working the muscles of the back. The next exercise that Aaron's going to show is he's going to grab his dumbbells, he's going to bring them up to his shoulders, and he's going to show you a shoulder press. Go ahead. And he's working now the shoulders, the deltoids, as well as his triceps. So now we've worked the lower body, the chest, the back, the shoulders. What's left? Well, we can isolate a little bit of arms if you like. We all want to look good out on the beach, so let's go ahead and do a few curls. Bring it up nice and slow. You can see that he's working his biceps here, and as he turns his pinky out, as he's doing, he is supinating his wrists, which actually make the bicep engage that much better. So in just a few movements, we've worked almost the entire body. What's left? Our midsection, and that's what we're going to go on to as we get to the heart of our abdominals video. Your full body strength training program you should perform at least twice and ideally 3 times per week. Now, how about your abs? Do you work them every day? No. There are a lot of myths, again, revolving around that abdominal region. You should not train abdominal muscles every day. Just like with our biceps, when we work our biceps, we're actually tearing the muscle down. When is it that it supercompensates and heals and gets stronger? In the rest period afterward. Now, it is true that abdominal muscles and your calf muscles, believe it or not, are the 2 areas of your body that you can work more frequently. What does more frequently mean? It means every other day, 3 to 4 days per week. Now, how many repetitions should you do? You should do as few repetitions as possible to get you to the point of muscle fatigue. What that means is you're not just going to whip through a bunch of neck crunches and you're not going to go halfway up on your exercises, but you're going to work very hard and get a full contraction on each one, making those muscles quiver a little bit and telling them that each and every repetition is important so that you may fatigue in somewhere between 10, 12, 15, maybe as many as 20 or so repetitions. But I'm going to guess if you're working hard, 20 is on the high side. Now, how many sets are you going to do? Well, I want you to start out only doing a single set of each exercise. As you get used to the workout, you progress a little bit more. Now you can add a second set, and if you want to, you can even add a third set. I know you're advanced, but the exercises we're going to show you are going to tax you in ways that you're not used to, so take your time. Lastly, you want to make sure that you're breathing between each and every one of these repetitions. You blow out on that hard muscular contraction, and you inhale on the way down. By blowing out, you're also flattening your midsection on each repetition, teaching the muscle that it wants to be flat, not to blow out and bow out as you inhale. So remember, exhale and blow out when you're working. Inhale as you're relaxing. A key part of any good workout program involves an active warm-up. The idea here is to raise your body's core temperature and get you ready for the exercise that's going to follow. Aaron's going to come out here right now and help me demonstrate to you some of the great exercises you can do to gradually get your body warming up. So let's start out just easy jogging in place. Now, how long should a good warm-up take? You should take at least 3 to 5 minutes. Again, the idea is to raise the core temperature, get the muscles loose, get the blood flowing, to get them more receptive to the more vigorous exercise to come. So from this light jog, he's going to bring his knees up a little bit higher, working a little bit more vigorously. But again, the idea here is not to get your heart rate through the ceiling, just to gradually increase your core temperature. Now, other options, aside from running in place, might be doing some jumping jacks, which he could easily do. Or maybe some half jacks, just bring his hands up halfway if you're not quite as vigorous. Or if he didn't want to do the floor exercise, if he had a bicycle, he could pedal a stationary bike, walk on a treadmill. Now, it just so happens that Aaron is a black belt in Taekwondo. So another option for him and for you martial artists out there might be a vigorous little kicking warm-up involving, bam, some front kicks, some side kicks, and he's all over the place. You don't want to get this guy mad at you. But the idea here with warm-up is to get that body temperature up, take your time so that you can progress into the next part of the workout, which is not active. It is a relatively easy but very important stretch workout, and that's what we're going to do next. Stretching is another critical part of your program. This will help to prevent injury and also to get your body ready again for that more vigorous exercise to come. The stretches that we're going to show you are specifically designed for the midsection. This is not a full body program. This is for the front, side, and back part of your body, specifically to the middle torso. Now, the things to remember with stretching is that it should not hurt you. Stretching should feel good. You also want to hold each stretch for at least 30 seconds. Not do bouncing, ballistic stretches, but slow, static stretches. And you have to remember to breathe. So those are the things to remember. Aaron, why don't you come on out here, and let's go ahead and we'll first drop into our Cobra stretch. Aaron, if you can just come up a hair, and you're resting up on your elbows. Now, the thing to remember here is that, again, it should feel good. Your hips should be down into the floor, and you're simply letting your belly sag, getting a stretch through the middle part of your body. Now, to make this stretch a little bit more exaggerated or a little bit further, we're going to press from a push-up position part way up. And notice that neither Aaron nor I have our elbows straight because it's very important to keep your hips down. There are very few people who have the lower back flexibility to straighten their arms out. Now, if we want to now stretch a little bit more on our obliques, what we'll do is look over our right shoulder, and we hold the stretch, and now we feel it more on our left obliques. We breathe. And now let's look back over our left shoulder, and we'll feel it now more on our right obliques. And this set of Cobra stretches is going to stretch out the entire front portion of the body. Now we're going to go ahead and lay down on our backs, and we're going to hug our knees into our chests. And as you can see here, we're going to get a nice stretch through the glutes, through the hamstrings, and now directly into the lower back. You want to keep your head back. You want to prevent your hips from coming up off the floor. And again, just get a nice stretch. Now let's do this same stretch holding one knee in at a time. So we'll pin our right knee against our chest. And now we feel a little bit more intensely on that right side of the body. And as we hold here, we'll take our left hand, bring it to the outside part of the knee, and swivel that hip around. And now you feel more of the stretch on the outer portion of the hip. Just relax, allow those muscles to stretch out. Okay, let's go ahead and grab the opposite knee. We hug that knee in. Of course, we're not holding 30 seconds, but we do want you to hold that full 30-second period. Move nice and slow and breathe and relax for all your stretches. Let's go ahead and grab the outside of that knee and bring it across. Very nice. I'm finding a part of my body that I need to stretch a little more regularly. I'm tight out here. The next stretch that we're going to do is called long body. And all I want you to do here is lay on your back, extend your arms over your head, point your fingers and point your toes as far away from your midsection as possible and try to lengthen your entire body. If I stay here long enough, I'll end up in the NBA. The last stretch we're going to do is for hamstrings. And what we'll do is hug one knee into the chest, but now we're going to grab underneath that knee, pin that knee in, and now what we're going to do is very slowly bring our heel up toward the ceiling without letting that knee move. And you'll find very quickly that you'll feel a stretch in your hamstring, your glute, and again into your lower back. If you feel that quivering, if you get sewing machine leg, you've gone too far. If this stretch hurts you, you've gone too far. If any stretch hurts you, you've gone too far. No pain, no gain is not part of a good stretch program. Go nice and slow, ease into it, feel good. You ready? Here we go for our advanced workout for abdominals. Now, we're not going to be going over the initial easier exercises, which we did in our beginning workout video for abdominals. This is more advanced, so we will take time to show you proper form for most of these exercises, but not for the ones that we did earlier. We're going to start out, Aaron and I, with the plank. Now, in the plank, you're going to rest on your elbows, bring your body into a push-up position, and now you're doing an isometric. You want to keep your body straight. And after a few seconds, you'll really feel this beginning to work all through your thighs, all through your upper body, but most importantly, right through your torso. Let's make this a little bit tougher now, and we'll lift our left leg up in the air. Hold it there. Now, of course, you feel more stress, not only on your right leg, but also on the right obliques. And let's drop that down, come up the opposite way. And we've got more stress, of course, now on the left obliques. From here, let's drop and turn over on our backs and get ready for our V-ups. Now, in the V-up exercise, we'll start in this V position. I don't want your legs straight. What I want is a bent knee, and we're going to hug our knees in toward our chest as we come up, extend back out, and we do repetitions like this. Now, what we're doing here is we're engaging our rectus abdominis from the top and bottom at the same time, making this a truly challenging abdominal exercise. Now, let's go ahead and just hug one knee at a time up. We'll go opposite, opposite. Now, of course, a little more obliques are being worked as we're working our rectus abdominis. How many repetitions are we looking for? 12, 15, but remember, as few as possible to get to fatigue. From here, let's go ahead and lay back on the floor. We'll bring our hands behind our head, and we're going to do bicycling. And what we're going to try to do is bring opposite knees toward one another as we cycle through and feel the movement through the torso. Now, this is not rapid fire. This is a relatively slow movement. And again, you should be feeling this on either side of your obliques and also simultaneously through that rectus abdominis. You're working hard now. But I don't want you to stop now. Now it's time for the exercise ball. Aaron gets to get the exercise ball between his hamstrings and his calves. He's going to pin it in there real tight, and he's going to lift that ball backward, doing a reverse crunch. Now, in the reverse crunch, his head stays back. The key thing to remember is his hips are coming up off the floor. That is shortening the distance between his sternum and his pelvic bones, and that is how you work your rectus abdominis. This is a tough exercise. Let's make it a little bit tougher, though, because Aaron's real strong. So are you. Let's grab the ball on the outside with our legs, pinch it in, bring that ball up to start with. Now we're working a little more adductors, the inside muscles of the thigh at the same time. And you can see there's a little quiver in his legs, and I'm sure you're feeling a little bit also. And again, the key part of the movement is that last part where his hips roll back. From here, we're going to target, again, the lower abs. And this is a real tough series that we're going through, but hang in there. Go ahead and bring the legs straight up in the air, Aaron. Okay, and what we want to do is drive those heels right up toward the ceiling, but no swing with the legs. So lift, nice, and lower. Very small movement. Lift, pause, and lower. Lift, pause, and lower. This guy is a black belt in karate. Go ahead and lift. Taekwondo. Just a few repetitions. He's sweating bullets. I'll bet you are also. This is a tough set. So the set is our plank, our V-ups, our bicycling, our reverse crunches with the ball, and then our straight leg hip lifts. And that is one full set. That's all I want you to do to start with. Give yourself a couple weeks. Then you could add a second series. Try to do as many repetitions as you can of each exercise to fatigue. That would be the key thing to remember till you're tired. And then don't bother doing a second or third set unless you have the time and the inclination. You'll get most of your benefit from that first set. The next sequence of exercises involves hitting the obliques. As you can see, Aaron and I are doing side-lying oblique crunches. Now, this may be familiar to many of you, but now we're going to add a little bit more of a twist to it. We're going to make it a more advanced abdominal exercise by incorporating the knees coming up at the same time. So you stay on your side, and this is a tough exercise. And I can really feel that. As my knees and upper body meet simultaneously, I'm getting a really nice pinch in those left obliques. And that's what you want to feel, that muscle working to fatigue. Each set you do. Let's go ahead and get that ball in here. Okay, Aaron, why don't you go ahead and lay back on there. And now we're going to do a set of crunches on the ball. Let's go ahead and come on up. Beautiful. Notice his chin is away from his chest. He's blowing his air out. He's getting a real nice contraction. The advantage of the ball is you can actually lay back a little bit farther on the ball than you could on the ground, so you're getting more of an extension and therefore more of a contraction on each repetition you do. From here, we'll have him go into an oblique crunch. Let's go ahead and just bring that opposite shoulder toward the opposite knee. Good. Now again, on the ball, it's tough because you've got to incorporate more stability on here. That ball wants to get away from you, so you've got to work more muscles through the sides of your torso. Let's go ahead and work the opposite direction now. Good. Blow that air out. Good. And again, he's working his internal obliques on the opposite side, external obliques on the lifting side. Now we'll go ahead and have Aaron turn over on the ball, and he's now going to work the equally important back side of his body. Now, abdominal training is not simply about making your abs as strong as they can be and neglecting the back side. If you have a muscle imbalance, you'll be set up for injury. A key part of any abdominal training program is going to not have a muscle imbalance between the back and front side of the body. So he's going to lift his upper body up. And you can see right over here, he's lifting his shoulder girdle up, his shoulder blades, getting a nice workout through the erector spinae, the muscles on the lower portion of the spine. Now again, this is a great exercise, but because this is an advanced training tape, we're going to go into a more advanced exercise as well for the lower portion of his erector spinae. So he slides forward, brings his hips, knees up in the air, and now he's going to lift his hips up into the air. Very nice. So he's squeezing his glutes, getting a nice workload right through the lower portion of his back, and getting a real good workout through his hamstrings, glutes, and into the low back complex. And each of these exercises, again, can be construed as a compound movement, working more than one muscle at a time, making it very, very efficient. We've got a couple more great advanced training exercises for you. The first one involves the big ball right over here. Aaron's going to get on top of that and show you a variation of the plank, but this one involves quite a bit of movement. So he's going to get his feet up on the ball. He's got his hands in a push-up position. And now from here, he's going to make a V with his body. And now he's going to slide back out. You may have seen those exercise machines where you've got that wheel rolling away from you. Well, in effect, we're doing the same thing here, but he's getting a real nice contraction all through his obliques, his rectus abdominis, and even through his legs and the upper portion of his body. Tough exercise. From here, let's go ahead and grab our weighted balls. And we're both going to lie down, put our ball up in front of us, and come up into a crunch, pause, and lower back down. Now, this is only 4 pounds, but if you're doing this correctly and really squeezing at the top, it's giving you quite a bit of additional resistance. Now, as we want to work our obliques, we'll simply move off toward the side, now lifting toward the left knee, bringing our right shoulder across toward the opposite knee, and really feeling a nice squeeze in our right obliques. And now coming the opposite way and feeling that real nice squeeze in our left oblique. And we're not done with this little ball yet, because now we're going to put it between our knees, and we're going to rock back and do a reverse crunch. Make sure you're breathing. This is a tough sequence, a tough set of exercises. Good. Now I'm going to get up and make Aaron do the tough work here. Pass me that ball, buddy. Okay, you ready? Okay, you need a partner for this, and you need to be really careful. Don't go with a heavy ball. Okay, I'm going to toss him the ball, and he's going to, on his way up, throw it back to me. So he's getting a crunch, and it's almost a plyometric movement for his entire upper body. I'm now going to toss it to him over his right shoulder, and he's going to feel it a little bit more in his obliques. Nice. One more of those. And now I'm going to toss it to him the opposite way, and he's going to feel a little bit more in his left side. Nice. Again, don't go with a heavy ball here, and really work with your partner and trust your partner. Very important. From the heavy ball, we'll do similar exercises with the weighted bar. So what we'll do here is we'll cross the bar on our shoulders and go ahead and crunch up, squeeze at the top, down nice and slow. So we're getting a nice squeeze, good contraction, pause, and come back down. Remembering to breathe, blow the air out, and get a nice squeeze through the abdominal muscles. Let's go ahead now and do obliques. So we're raising our right shoulder toward our left knee. Now do remember, when you're incorporating resistance, the muscles will be working harder. They will gain more strength, but as they gain strength, they will also hypertrophy or grow a little bit. Make sure that's part of your workout goals. Let's go the opposite way. Nice. And now we're going to do reverse crunches. So simply keep that bar on the shoulders and swing the hips back. And one last exercise that I'm going to do is now I'm going to drive my heels right up toward the ceiling. Now you can see I'm getting very little movement out of my hips because my abdominal muscles are already very fatigued. But I'll tell you what, I feel that very tight, squeezing very hard just below my belly button. So if that's a trouble area for you, I recommend doing that reverse crunch followed by the hip lift. That's a really nice cycle in order to accomplish hitting that tough to work area in the lower portion of the tummy. But you do those exercises, and your abs are going to be strong as steel. There you have it, our advanced abdominals training workout. I hope your abs are as tired as mine are right now. But I'll tell you what, if you do these exercises on a regular basis, you will get fit. Now, nothing comes overnight, so you got to stick with it. Now, if you found this exercise program a little bit challenging, we do have a beginner tape available for you at CenturyVision.com. I would also like to tell you that the balls, the bars, the big balls, the weighted balls are all available at CenturyVision.com. And I'd like to thank Aaron for helping us out today. He did a great job, and those are some tough exercises. So you hang in there, develop those 6 packs of steel, and I'll see you next time.